Hi, it's Dame's Place. It is June 14th, I think. I could be wrong. Monday. And I'm telling a story about my grandmother working for the Catholic Church. My family worked for, they were writers, and they wrote, one aunt wrote the story of the Holy Family. My grandmother had a cooking recipe in women's column in St. Anthony's Messenger. And if you go back today, always, if you just, to follow my stories, if you go to the date and then follow them in the order that they drop, it'll be the stories and they're together in this order. So, I'm talking about the Catholic nuns that I worked with at the hospital in the town that I grew up in. And one of the towns I grew up in, one was Batavia, New York. And this was in Batavia. And my family, they started the first St. Joseph's Church. My Papa Ward he had the first Catholic masses in Batavia, New York. Bishop Timon School in Buffalo had mass in my Papa Ward's living room. And there's writings about it. And so they were very involved. My father was not. He had been kicked out of Notre Dame. He had, they said he assaulted a priest, but this priest had assaulted him, and he just punched him out after he had been choked and thrown against a blackboard at Notre Dame High School. So now all the convents sent the nuns in our town to live at the convent at Notre Dame. They used to have, like, St. Mary's had their own convent and the rectory, but by the time I'm coming up, that's gone. There's a rectory. And I know a lot of these rectories and convents because my grandfather ran the Genesee Orleans, Livingston, Orleans, Wyoming Ministry of Concern on non-denominational charity organization to help people with, poor people with money, lawyers, whatever you needed, food, whatever it was, bail money. And, so we went to all the churches and picked up donations to then disperse in all those counties, 4 counties in Western New York. And anyway, so the nuns had been, when I worked at the hospital, I worked with the nuns, and they're like 70, I'd say. And they've come over from the Catholic hospital, consolidated with the public hospital. It was St. Jerome's and Genesee Memorial, and then they became United Memorial Medical Center. And I worked there for like 5 years, and I worked with her in the X-ray department, and Sister Carm. And she came over and all of them did, and then I became friends with them. And they basically said they didn't know my family at all, like that they hadn't even heard of them. And it was 3 nuns. And then their top nun, that she didn't really stay there too much, but she was the head chaplain in Attica prison by chance. And they used to call her the bad habit, and she was the head chaplain. I don't know if she makes, like, it was $100+ G a year to be the head chaplain. But her where she was supposed to live was Notre Dame, though she had to take care of her elderly mother a lot. So I know she took care of her. So when they told the nuns, now people wonder about these consolidations and where they're at now with the churches. And I encourage, in Batavia, where a lot of the things were plotted and planned against me, came out of a private nest. I'm going to call it the nest over there. That's where I'm not going to get into it too much, but I would say at that nest that nobody was helping these nuns pack up to move. They were telling the nuns that they would lose all of their stuff, that they were going to put it in a junk pile, it'd be a pile of rubble, and they tore the place down. And I'm cleaning, the story earlier today was how I was cleaning out all these bedrooms, like 12 rooms upstairs, and cleaning, and my daughter would sit in the kitchen with them and just color and eat chocolate or whatever that she wasn't supposed to. And, there's a prayer room there, like special prayer room, like tested, and my girl didn't go in there, but I saw it and everything. And they had a parrot that swore, that said every bad word in the world that somebody left them. She died, the nun died, and parrots live a long time, so it would say MFer when you came in and everything. But they had gotten rid of it at that point because somebody complained maybe. But anyway, all these people crying about, oh, my church is closed, they closed Sacred Heart, they did this, that, the other. Let me tell you what, when I would tell people that no one was helping them, the whole football team at that school, where their convent was on the Notre Dame campus in Batavia, and nobody came over to help them. No, not the football players, not anybody came over to help them. They wouldn't ask because they were trying to get it extended out. They didn't want to move at all. They wanted to stay there, and they didn't want to be any trouble. So, because I said, I'll go right over there and get the boys to come over here and help move these things, because I'm moving, I'm moving the mattresses myself, and it's heavy. And I've been at work at Attica Prison all day, and now I'm staying there till 9, 10 at night to clean up the place and get them packed up. There was like 10 trunks, nuns trunks in the basement there of women that had died. Or I mean, I don't know why if you didn't die, you'd leave your trunk there. But they get a trunk, and they can put all their things in a trunk when they start, when they begin their journey becoming nuns. And I used to have one. Sister Carm gave me one to take home out of that. I could have taken any home, but my Uncle Tom is gone, passed away by then, and the antique shop was gone. I didn't have room to store it. I always had a little tiny apartment for just Tess and I couldn't store it. But I kept the one as, and I gave it to my girl, of her trunk, because they were beautiful. The old, rounded tops with the key on them and everything, brass, all brass, beautiful, beautiful. But anyway, there was nobody there helping. And that was the way it was. And people would say, oh, I saw you here or there with Sister Carm. Who's the nun you're with? Who's that lady? And I would say, oh, it's Sister Carm. And, but nobody really offered to help that. And here people would say, oh, I just got back from church, or I did this, or I did that. But the real charity, I didn't see it, because I let everybody know. I let everybody know at that nest that was associated with Sacred Heart that they needed help over there. And, they got it from a direct person that I asked, one person, but that they didn't get it from, the community didn't rise to the occasion and do anything for them. There was no goodbye party, no nothing. Just they just packed up and left like they had done nothing. And, for them, now that I look at it and I think of how untruthful some of the things were, I just know that's how it shakes out, and the truth always comes out in the end. But everybody should think of if you look back in time, and you could go to Microfiche, or you could go to the Library of Congress and look up the old magazines and how political they are and how they try to divide and conquer. And, sometimes people not admitting who you are, what you are, that's preying upon you. And you can't let people do that. And they come in all forms. You know what I mean? I did everything for her. I burnt through every tank of gas I didn't have. I worked overtime to make sure I had enough to make sure I could run to do her stuff with her, with my little girl. And I felt like it was my duty for sure, because that's, my family would want me to do that. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not sorry for any of that. And if she didn't remember my family, she didn't. But she remembered a lot of families. And, I'm just glad that I didn't disrespect my father's memory, because if you don't remember them, then why would I give to this? And I think people should think that. I don't mean that monetarily. I mean, I'm not going to pledge allegiance to a church that I feel has turned their back on the masses from the inception, because that's when the world changed. And, the millennial, we're in the short season, in my opinion, but that's a whole nother story. So I'll leave it there. 8 minutes. That's a lot of minutes today. So it's just food for thought, I guess. To take a look at the flowers, and then I'll leave you.